Well, it's been a while, but we are back. Jonathan and Couz, the Golden Blue Breakdown Show. We are here to kick off the 2026 college football season. What's up, man?
Yeah, hey, Couz, it is good to be back. I feel like a part-time employee of Couz's Corner that's been away. Did you ever see that old Andy Griffith episode where he said, it's me, eternity"? I kind of
Yeah.
feel like it is me in whatever glory this is. But yeah, man, it's
Just don't
back.
throw rocks at my windows, please.
No, no, certainly wouldn't throw anything at the screen or your windows. But yeah, it's hard to believe. It's been a good summer, been a good off season. This is a little bit more full time for you than it is for me. But you know what? Hey, don't blink. I guess we're recording this on the first day of practice, and I'm excited for the season. Hope you are. Hope everybody watching is,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to get going. Good to be
Yep.
back.
Absolutely. Yeah, and everybody, please be sure to go check out our WV Sports Chat Facebook page where you'll find some of Jonathan's work, some of my work, and some some articles from our website, wvsportschat.com. Just all kinds of Mountaineer content over there. Go check us
Yep.
out. But we're here to break down, as we call it, the Golden Blue Breakdown Show. We are going to break something down, and we are going to break down Mountaineer position rooms for its Mountaineer football team. We do this every year, or the last 2 years we've done it, and we're going to take each position group and grade each one at a time and give our thoughts on each one. So let's go and start off on the offensive side of the ball, Jonathan, and let's go with the quarterback position. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm grading them.
And
This is
let
a
me,
hard one.
and I
Go
will
ahead.
say this real quick.
Yeah.
Last year, if you're a follower of this show, we've always said that we don't compare notes, but somehow we always kind of end up
Yeah.
the same. The same could be true for tonight as well. We have
Yeah.
not, just want to get that out of the way just in case you and
Yeah.
I tie a grade
With
here.
Jonathan and I's schedules, we barely have time to record the show, much less
Yeah,
compare notes.
that's
So
true.
anyway,
That's true.
all right. I'm going with a B on quarterback. I wanted to go first off. I'm not much of a I'm a really tough grader, so I didn't give anybody an A. I'll just be straight up honest with you. And unless you're an unless I know you're an NFL talent, I'm probably not giving you an A. And there's so many unknowns on this team, it's hard to gauge whether anybody's an NFL talent yet. But I do like what they did. I do like the fact they brought in Hawkins. I do like the fact he's a fit in Rich Rod's offense. I do like Scotty Fox coming back for another year. I thought he showed some great stuff at the end of the season last year. Showed that he can play quarterback at the Power Four level, and what he was able to do as a true freshman was pretty remarkable considering the injuries he was dealing with, the poor offensive line play he had in front of him at times. Not a ton of depth at receiver. I mean, there was a lot he had to deal with as a true freshman. He handled it well. I like those two guys. I think either one of them are dependable, reliable, and I think either one can win football games. So I'm going with a B.
Yeah, well, very close. I went C plus. And Kuz, I will say this: you said a word there just a second ago, early on in your description, that I think is going to be um, maybe for you, but kind of the theme of where I'm at is just kind of the unknown, right? Um, Listen, I agree with you on Scotty Fox Jr. A lot of people, probably realize that he was not option A or option B or probably even C for West Virginia last year. So to eventually make his way to over 1,200 yards, and like you said, at times there were flashes of brilliance. At other times there were flashes of he probably was option C or D,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but when you mold it all up and you add it all up, I think it kind of come out to a little bit of promise. But Kuz, make no mistake, there's a reason why, even in Rich Rodriguez's own words, they went out and got a quarterback. Um, so I don't quite know what that tells you about their feelings about Scotty Fox from just last year or going forward, but they identified Hawkins Jr. And made him a priority for this year. I will say that I believe both quarterbacks, especially Hawkins Jr. Boy, if you could just draw up the prototypical Rich Rodriguez quarterback, does he not just scream it, right?
yep, yep.
Here's the only problem: very, very, very limited in what he's done. Now, when he's been in, I like what he saw, but there is that roll of the dice, and the key word there unknown. So I went C plus. I probably would have just bumped up just a little bit to the B if I maybe if Hawkins would have had a little bit more opportunity last year, and I could see a little bit more. But for right now, I went with a C plus.
Okay, so we're not too far off. I guess I'm slightly more optimistic, but not by much. I've listened to Scott O'Callahan talk so many times about how good Michael Hawkins is,
Yeah.
and I've heard him talk about how he's faster than I heard Pat White say he's faster than him and all that. So I'm really optimistic about what he's bringing, and so that's why I bumped it to a B.
And I certainly think it's there. It's just if there wasn't that
Unknown.
that unknown or that question mark is not in italics because it's in bold for me.
I got you.
And but but hey, I will say this: there's an opportunity here to be a B plus. There is that potential.
Yep. And I actually think again I'm not going to grade a group on an A unless there's either an elite NFL talent in the room or maybe a couple NFL players in the room. And again, there might be on some of these, but not yet. Running back. Let's go to running back. This one I almost went with A here, Jonathan, but I didn't because I do think Cam Cook is a potential NFL talent. But we're grading the room here, not just the
Yeah.
one person. And I do like Amari Latimer. I think he's a stud. He's going to see a lot of playing time as a freshman. I like some of the other guys in the room too, but the key word there, they're all freshmen,
Yeah.
along with Martavius Boswell, who's a JUCO transfer. So if Cam Cook goes down, you're going to be relying on true freshmen, and that makes me a little bit nervous. So therefore, I went with a B plus instead of an A.
Okay. You know, pretty much the words out of my mouth, Couz. And this could be a trend as we go forward. I went with just a B. Um, and honestly, for the exact same reasons. Listen, Cam Cook led the entire nation in rushing yards last season. Um, he's a stud. We could sit here and fill an hour show about how good Cam Cook is going to be. Um, and I'm excited to see Cam Cook behind this offensive line. We'll get to that in just a minute. Um, but again, when I look behind him, I think Amari Latimer is going to be the real deal. I truly believe that. But when you look, as you said, at the room, not the player, there does it does include a question mark about what happens if you're without Cam Cook for a day or a half or a game or two games. Can a true freshman, can a JUCO transfer step up? So I went B just because it's the room, not because it's the player.
Yep. Okay, so we're on the same page on that one. All right. Next, we'll go to wide receivers and tight ends. We're putting these together here. I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
Yeah, Couz. So I went with a C minus, actually. This is a room that I have some concern at. And really, it all comes back to how healthy can this group stay? If you look across the board at who they have, Jaden Bray's going to give it another run. So there's a couple players here that I'm concerned about. I do think that there is some potential talent there with some of the JUCOs that they brought in, a Teron Francis, for an example. But when I combine the durability that I have seen over the history of some of the players in that room versus some of the unknown question marks, yeah, because I go C minus.
Okay. There's a tree in here, man.
Don't tell me you're a C plus.
No, I'm a C.
Okay, okay. Well,
A little bit more optimistic, I guess, than you, slightly. And some of the same concerns. Obviously, the injury bug has bitten Jaden Bray,
yeah,
but he's. I talked to him at media days. He said he was healthy now. He had his last two injuries were both the same foot, I believe, or I know it was a foot injury that supposedly has been rectified now. Hopefully, Prince Strawn though has been hurt. He was hurt last year. He got hurt in spring at the spring game.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean there is definitely concern there, but if healthy, I really like this room, especially those two guys. You
yeah,
got deep threats. You got guys who can catch the football well. You've got some speed guys with the JUCO transfers in Triplet and the other transfer whose name is escaping me at this exact point in time. But And Snyder out of UConn is another one.
Yeah.
Francis that you mentioned, the talented redshirt freshman. Well, I don't guess they're redshirts anymore, but whatever they call them these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second year player, Teron Francis. A lot of talent, but also a lot of, you know, what ifs, so to speak, in that room as well. So I'm going with a C, but it's an optimist. I probably should have went C plus really, but I went C.
Yeah, I agree, and if we're going to lump the tight ends in there, I guess there's just some more there. I like what Ryan Ward brought to the table last year,
Yeah.
especially in the season. I thought, that last 2 or 3 games he looked a lot more comfortable, especially as an offensive weapon, blocking wise. I don't really have any concerns with him. But then when you bring in a couple transfers, I think Josh Sapp, Cam Ball, who's a massive human being at the tight
Yeah.
end position. It just again, I think the overall health combined with that unknown leads me to think I'm just a little concerned, and that's how I got to my C
Yeah.
minus.
Yeah. And, I'm glad you mentioned the tight ends because we were including them in this. I like the fact that both of those transfers are from P4 schools. They've played P4 football. They have a lot of experience. And also, I need to mention DJ Epps as a receiver. I forgot to mention
Yeah,
his name. They
yeah,
said he showed some flashes in spring. He's a kind of your quick twitch slot guy. But Jonathan, there's a trend here. You've got injuries, guys who've been
yeah,
injured a lot, or at least injured recently. In the case of Prince Strawn, or you've got guys who are yet to prove themselves at the Power Four level. And speaking of the wide receiver specifically, so and then in the
yeah,
case of the tight ends, neither Sapp nor Cam Ball have caught a ton of balls in their career.
right.
So, how good are they in the receiving game, right? Just so many unknowns, man. And that's obviously going to be the theme. That's been the theme of this whole offseason for this team. 80-some new players, right? It's kind of Captain Obvious, but as far as grading them goes, you have to consider that when you're grading these position
Yeah,
groups.
yeah, completely agree.
Okay. All right, that's the offense. Before we switch over to the defensive side of the ball, I need to
So
take a.
we got offensive line.
Oh yeah. We do have. I'm getting ahead of myself. See, I had them written in order, and I went out of order, and now I screwed myself up, Jonathan. Let's go and do
Well,
offensive line.
and if you would have thought at any point in time last year, I would have been excited to talk about the offensive line.
Well,
So
by gosh, we better do it then.
so maybe we thought we were rewinding the clock. Um, but crazy enough, Couz, this is one of the positions that's probably going to get my best grade. You took the words out of my mouth earlier. I'm probably not giving any A's. I'm not. Spoiler alert. Um, I went B plus with this group. What was arguably one of the weakest positions for West Virginia last year, in one off season, in my opinion, has become a strength of this team. I love that they went out and got Amari Grayson, Cam Griffin, Karsten Cassidy's going to be really good. One of the biggest things that kind of caught my attention is just the amount of snaps that these players have played. And probably the best acquisition of the offseason is Rick Trickett. So you combine what West Virginia has returning with what they went out and got in terms of experience. We're not going to use the word unknown in this one. Maybe a little bit of a question: how does it all blend together?
Hmm.
But I think you've got so many options that works itself out. I go B plus.
Well, this is the first time that's happened, but we got the same grade because that's what I got too. I mean, I could just say ditto and move on if I wanted to, I guess, but that would be boring. So it doesn't make for a good show, does it?
No.
I like the experience of the guys. Again, most of them are coming from the G6, but man, you got almost every one of those guys you mentioned. The only transfer they brought in that hasn't played more than 1,000 snaps is Devin Voss,
Yeah.
but he played all of his 420 snaps, I think it is, at the P4 level in the Big 12 at Kansas State. So that's a pretty decent trade off. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And with that Kansas State program for 2 or 3 years, even though he didn't play until last year. He's learned under practicing against Power 4 level competition each and every week. So
Yeah.
I like that. And I know he's coming off a little bit of an injury from the spring, but everything I've heard that he's back and healthy now. So it sounds like he's going to be okay. But man, you got to love what they brought in with Kevin Brown and I've
Yeah,
heard good things.
yeah. Didn't even mention
Yeah,
him. Yeah,
LaMarcus Dillard I heard has had a really good spring, another freshman. So I think in the future, not only does this position look good today, I think it also looks good in the future with what they're building. Especially if Rick Trickett coaches, for a few more years. I mean, he's got a 2-year deal, but he is, 78, 79 years old, something like that. So he might retire at some point, but we're going to enjoy him while he's there. And I'm like you, man, definitely the biggest acquisition of the offseason, in my opinion.
yeah.
And I think he's going to really, really do wonders for that O-line. And Nick Cray, Rich Ross said he's a potential NFL draft pick. He thinks could be one of the top linemen in the whole conference. So I'm excited. And when Landon Livingston is maybe your third string center,
Yeah,
I'm pretty that
yeah,
excited because I mean that's pretty exciting to me.
it is, and my apologies for kind of having Kevin Brown slip, but
That's
the
all right.
reason why it's kind of slipped my mind was the fact that you know when I studied this unit, I went and looked at the amount of snaps and the experience that these guys have played, and so when you can be able to have somebody like Kevin Brown kind of fly under the radar, so to speak, a little bit
Yeah,
with this group that they brought in. Um, you feel like it's the position's in a pretty good place. We talked earlier about the running back position. One of the reasons why we semi dinged it was because we graded the room, not the player. Same goes for this unit right at the offensive line. Is the reason why it gets a B plus for me is because I am grading the room, and I'm really excited about what they have there.
yeah, me too. I'm super stoked about it. I think it's just when you look at the experience levels, what really gets me excited. And it's not just they were G6 players, but most of these guys were all conference level G6 players.
Yeah, yeah.
So that there is a difference. Not all players are created equal.
I like that.
All right, now let me make sure
I think
we're
we're good.
done with the offense, right? Okay. We are done with the offense now. So we're going to pause for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Right now, for brand new users, Prize Picks has a special offer. You play $5, you get $150 in bonus lineups if you win. Use code HMA at checkout to take advantage of that offer today, and you can use the link at the top of my description box to get there. For my next picks, I'm going to college football. I'm going to rushing yards, and I'm picking my West Virginia Mountaineer Cam Cook to rush for more than 949.5 rushing yards in 2026. I think he's going to do that. You got to have at least 2 players for a lineup, so I'm going to another Big 12 player, this time to the quarterback position. And I'm going with Bear Bachmeier from BYU. Will he have more or less than 2,524.5 passing yards? I'm going with less. Not because he's a bad quarterback, but because he's probably going to be handing the ball a lot to a guy named LJ Martin. So those are my picks. Bear Bachmeier will have less than 2,524.5 passing yards, and Cam Cook will have more than 949.5 rushing yards in 2026. Those are my 2 players from my lineup. Then all you have to do is submit your lineup. You see that at the bottom of the screen there. It's that easy to make your picks. Do so using code HMA to take advantage of the offer. And please, if you play, please do so responsibly. All right, we are back. Thanks for letting me pay the bills. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, Jonathan. Let's start
Yeah,
off with
so
the defensive line. Roll, let's go for it, brother.
yeah, I went with just a C. I do like some of the pieces that West Virginia brought in. Zeke Campbell, Harper Holloman. I do like those guys. Excited about a couple of the JUCO guys. Here's the reason why I went C versus maybe barely just bumping them up, Couz, to a C plus. Campbell and Holloman, even at a little bit of a lower level, have the experience and they've had that production. My question is, what are you going to get out of, say, some of these JUCO guys that they brought in? Darius Wiley, for example, KJ Henson, Jalen Thomas. They're putting a lot of stock in a couple of these JUCO guys. Now, if depending on who you talk to, you hear a lot of good things about those 3 guys. And you could add a Will LeBlanc and a couple of those guys in there as well. A lot of potential there, but I went with just a C because the 2 main guys with Holloman and Campbell I really like. but that's a position that's going to need a lot of guys to play a lot of time and a lot of
Hmm.
snaps. And I just don't know how deep they are. So I went with a C.
Yeah. And for the second consecutive position room, we are the same.
Okay.
I also have a C. Similar reasons as you, but I also they're everything I've read about, and I haven't sit and looked at the size and compared them to the rest of the conference, but they apparently are undersized when you look at the what some of the people like Phil Steele and others have talked about.
Yeah.
They're undersized, and that's a little concerning because we've even heard Rich Rodriguez talk about how he wanted his offensive linemen to be 300 pounds plus,
Yeah.
right, so they can push guys backwards. Well, most offensive linemen are what 300 pounds plus, so
Yeah.
which makes me think, okay, are the offensive lines for these other Big 12 teams going to push our defensive line around because they're too light, right? That's somewhat
Yeah.
of a concern. So that's why it doesn't mean they can't be good, but just on the surface, the fact they're undersized, you have a lot of JUCO players in the room. Now you do have, Corey McIntyre Jr. You have obviously Nate Gabriel who has some experience,
Yeah.
but you know Nate Gabriel's played what 400 snaps, maybe something like that. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like he's played 1,000 snaps, so you don't have a ton of experience there. So it is a little bit. I think you got a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and this could end up being one of those rooms that could end up being a pleasant surprise and being really good.
Yep. It's a good
If
point.
if these JUCO players live up to what the coaching staff seems to think they are,
Yeah.
and what some of the people who follow JUCO football and others say they are, then that could end up being the best room on the defense, or maybe even one of the best rooms on the entire football team.
It,
But
it,
but
it
but I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, and I think I'm right there with you, Couz. And am I alone in the thinking that it seems with the junior college players, it's usually a big hit or it's a big miss. There's really not as much there because you've got to get something out of them pretty quick, right? Like you're not getting these guys out of high school where you might just kind of sit them for a year and
Mhm.
kind of watch a little. When you go out and get these JUCO guys, you're going to plug them and play them. And now, depending on who you talk to, especially a Darius Wiley and a Jalen Thomas, specifically, those are a couple players. If you talk to certain people, they were saying, hey, there were some SEC schools that really
Mhm.
wanted those guys,
Yeah.
specifically Thomas. Now, Thomas has a little bit bigger of a frame in terms of the weight and the body on
Right.
him, but he's a little bit of a shorter guy. And so,
Right.
my question here is, and we'll get to it in a minute, but part of it is also in the secondary, but mainly more on the defensive line. Is I feel like West Virginia added extremely late and is really relying heavily on the junior college. That gives me a little bit of concern that West Virginia focused so late on that group. And that led me to go to a C. But I agree with you completely that we could look up 4 or 5 games into the season and say they really swung big and they connected on this group.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead to the second level of the defense and go to the linebacker room. What you got there?
I went C again. Probably one if I felt like they had another one or maybe another one solid player that I felt comfortable with. I could have bumped him up to a C plus. Um, Listen, I love Ben Cutter. He's a true Mountaineer. I like what he brings. I think Tyler Stolsky is going to be another guy that, quite honestly, Couz Mountaineer fans are going to love him. I think he's going to fly all over the field, and he's going to do it with 110% effort. Have some questions about a Malachi Hood, for example, and Isaiah Patterson who transferred in. Um, my concern here is how deep is this unit? And there's not a whole lot of snaps to be told here. Um, I don't know that it's crazy to think that you're going to rely on an Ashton Woods who was injured, an Antoine Sharp as a freshman, even a Cam Torber maybe who's a redshirt freshman. It seems to me this unit is going to rely heavily on a lot of unknowns. And to be quite, I went with the C Coos, but I was probably a lot closer to a C minus than I was a C plus.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for how comfortable I am with Cutter, and how much I think Stolsky's going to be good. So I went with C just to kind of be level across the board on it,
Yep.
but probably closer to a C minus than a C
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah. This is a one position group that over the course of the summer, I have went from being super concerned about to now I think it could be one of the best rooms on the team.
Okay.
Now I could be completely wrong, but I really love Ben Cutter. And I look,
Yeah.
the dude ain't the fastest guy on the planet, but he's freaking tough as nails. He's a true mountaineer. He's experienced. He's a leader.
And you always know what you're going to get out of Ben.
Yes, you do. They thought enough of him to they wanted to keep him around. I mean, that tells you something. So it means he's hard edge. He fits the culture. They bring in a guy like Tyler Stolsky, who I think's of a similar mold
Yep.
with really good experience in his time. Matter of fact, he played for a P4 school, I think, early in his career. But again, there's so many of these guys I can't keep track of who they played for and who they didn't. But I know he originally came to West Virginia from a G6. But I like him. Malachi Hood is an interesting one because he didn't play a ton of snaps. I mean, he played quite a few snaps, but he didn't start a lot at Illinois, is where I was going with that. So is he starter level? Is he P4 starter level good? But I do like the fact he's a senior and he's experienced and has played in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They play some pretty good teams in the Big Ten. I mean, there's a team called Indiana in the Big Ten, a team named Ohio State in the Big Ten. He's played against some of those teams, right? So I
Speaking
like
of Big
that.
Ten, Stolsky was in Minnesota.
Minnesota, thank you. I knew he was at a Power Four school early in his career, but I couldn't remember which one. They got a lot of experience there, I'm really big on experience. I think it goes a long way, especially in football. And when you look at the guys they've got, even the ones who are your second string and your third string guys are are experienced for the most part, with the exception of maybe a couple like Cam Torber you mentioned. But Zach Alley today in his presser said, Cam Torber's likely going to be playing more in that some of those sub package roles. So he likely won't even be playing middle linebacker, weak side linebacker right now. So again, they're deep, they're experienced. They might not be elite as far as athleticism in some cases, but they play with a hard edge. I think they got a lot of leadership and a lot of grit, and I think that's what you want at the linebacker spot. So I'm going with a B.
Okay.
I know that was a long-winded answer, but
I don't mind it. I mean, I think the potential is there. I'm just a combination of snaps and you're going to rely to me on some inexperience and some youth and a couple that just at some points haven't really played a whole lot of snaps, and so yeah, it seems that C seems to be a theme of my grading scale here, but
what they always say in school, John, if you don't know the answer, go with C.
well, yeah, and hey, we led this episode off by talking about the unknown,
Yep.
and so yeah, admittedly, I think a lot of us would raise our hand and say we just don't know, and that's one thing about this transfer portal and this new age of where we're at. We're rolling the dice and we're projecting how certain players transition to either this level or and whatever. So yeah, but so far I think we're pretty close.
All right. Let's go to the cornerback position. What you got there?
Stop me if you've heard this before. No, actually went with C plus this time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and I'll tell you why. They've got a couple players that I'm really excited about. First off, I would say Nick Taylor, even though he doesn't have a ton of snaps. I really like his size, and I think if you'll listen to those around the program, they're really excited about him. There's a ton of excitement, Couz, around Keyshawn Robinson. It seems like anybody that I talk to, they always kind of somehow just say, yeah, and Keyshawn Robinson. His name gets thrown up a lot. We're going to see about Damon Allen. Another JUCO guy that we talked about earlier is: are you striking out, or are you hitting a home run here? Help me with this last name, Choms
John.
Jine. I've told myself 15 times that that's what that is, and I never
John.
can
Yeah,
remember it.
I actually went on the website, WVU Sports website, and they pronounce it for you. So it's
Yeah.
John.
So I'll tell you one thing that I like about this unit. I like the size of this unit. West Virginia seemed to go from that 5'11", 6 foot, more to that 6'1" to 6'3" range, so they're bigger. I like that. Now, the big question mark is who's played enough snaps back there that you can say that's my guy right there. You know what I'm saying? Where in years past, maybe that's been a weak area, but there's been one player you felt like you could at least rely on. Who is that guy? Is it John? Does Robinson step up? Is Nick Taylor really what they think that he is? So a little concern there for me. But maybe for the reasons you're excited about the linebacker group, I'm excited about the cornerbacks.
I went the complete opposite direction as you, man. This is where you and I are going to have the. I went with a D, my
Oh,
lowest graded room on the entire. Well, yeah, lowest graded room on the entire football team.
oh, okay.
And here's why. I love the length. Don't get me wrong, but my mind goes back to a few years ago when I heard Jordan Leslie talk about how we had experience last year, but this year we went out and got more size and athleticism, and they still stunk up the joint.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I know it
Fair.
was a different staff, a different philosophy, coaching philosophy, and all that. I get that. So I'm not trying to say that didn't make a difference because it probably did. But I just until I see, I'm not convinced a guy can cover you just because he's 6'2". You know,
Yeah.
is that can he turn
No,
his
I
hips?
agree. Yeah.
Can he turn his hips? What's his speed like? Is he in the right position? Because we've seen that a lot over the years. Guys not even in the right position. So I think I'm just gun shy, to be honest with you, a little bit on
Yeah.
picking a high grade for this room until they show it to me. You know, I asked Coach Rod about it at media days, and he said guys were in position last year, but they got mossed a lot. So he thinks size is going to be the difference maker. Okay,
Yeah.
and I hope he's right, but I need to see it. You mentioned I like Nick Taylor as well. He really had a great game last year against Utah, showed what he can do. But when you look at his PFF grade, not very good. I think he graded out into 40s in coverage last year. Keyshawn Robinson, yes, he's good, but very young, inexperienced. You've got a couple more JUCO guys. I'm really high on Damon Allen or Damon Allen. When I watched
Yeah.
his film when he committed, I was like, this cat can flat out cover you. Like,
Yeah.
they put him a lot in one-on-one man situations, press man sometimes, and he was able to do really well. Now, how does that relate to the Big or translate to the Big 12? We'll see. But again, he's a junior college player, and like you said, they can sometimes either be hit or miss, right? And
Yeah.
until we see it play out, and sometimes with those junior college players too, sometimes it takes them a few games, sometimes an entire season before they catch up with the speed of the game and get comfortable. So,
Yeah.
there's just again that room. There's even less unknowns than the other ones.
Yeah.
So until I see them put it on the field, and until they convince me that size matters, I'm going with a D.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that we've went back to back positions where we've just kind of flip flopped. And I understand your positioning. I think the cornerback position is a sore subject for West Virginia fans because I feel like really outside of maybe one or two players, that's just been an area where really the secondary in general, West Virginia's just been burnt, right? And so it's completely understandable to have a little bit of that sour taste. I tend to think more along the maybe I'm just buying more of that Zach Alley, Rich Rodriguez talk about we've got the guys, we needed the height a little bit more. And when a coaching staff really makes that their point of emphasis, I tend to lean on their judgment a little bit more. And it was clear that they, especially with the guys that they kept from last year, have size. Went out, got size. So maybe I just tend to rely on their word a little bit more. But it also wouldn't surprise me if I completely missed on this unit.
Well, I hope I do miss on it. I mean, I grading them a D. I hope they're a lot better than that. But
Yeah.
I'm going with, and again, that's why this is kind of a fun exercise because we have no freaking clue what we're doing. I mean, we haven't even seen most of these guys play.
Yeah.
All you can go by is what you've seen on film, what you've read about them, what you hear from the coaches, from if we have any sources that might feed us anything. I mean, but you know what? that's
But
what all
don't
three.
but now don't think I won't jump on here after the first game if West Virginia has 2 interceptions. I'll I will be I'll
Hey,
be
I
on
will
here
gladly.
live
I'm
immediately.
gonna say, hey,
Hold my notes up.
I'm gonna say, hey man, it was that linebacker group that got that pass rush. Nah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
at the end of the day, I don't care who does it, man, as long as they make it
yeah.
happen.
If it works in my favor, I'll be on here. If it doesn't, I'll tell you that I've got a bad internet connection. I can't join you.
So
How about
you
that?
had that group as a B,
I had him as a C
C
plus.
plus. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm writing this down, making notes here. Just so maybe if we come back to this later, we'll compare, see how we did.
Let's see how bad we were.
We meant to do that last year, and I don't think we ever got back to it. But anyway, let's go safety. I guess I think this is the last group we're doing. Safety.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
got there?
It's tied with my highest group.
Okay.
I went B plus. This is a group outside of the offensive line that I'm really, really excited about, and actually, I think this group can help the cornerback position a little bit. Um, because it could be fair to say for me that two players that I am most excited about on this entire West Virginia football team reside at the safety position with Kamari Wilson and Andrew Powdrell.
Fair enough.
800 plus starts for Wilson or snaps in 2025, 738, I believe it was, in 2025 for Powdrell. And that doesn't even talk about Jameer Lattimore at 422, which we believe is going to play there. Huge fan of those guys, a lot of experience. And by the way, Cameron Reddick, who was added, started all of last season, I think, for Stephen F. Austin at the FCS level. They went back and they got some JUCO athletes. I think Malik Hawkins is going to play
Yes.
there. And then
Yep.
one player that we have not mentioned is Matt Sig, a
Yes.
four-star player who's going to play, I believe, potentially on both sides of the ball, but it looks like it's safety as well. If you looked at this entire roster and you gave me 5 players that I'm most excited about, Kamari Wilson and Andrew Powdrell would be 2 of the 5. And I think this is a very solid unit from top to bottom. Again, we've talked about we're not judging the player, we're judging the room. And because of that, I went B plus, and this was probably very close to giving an A here. Really excited about this group.
Yeah. I'm not that far off. I went with a C plus, and I honestly could be talked into a B because I am also happy about this group. The only thing that kept me from giving them a B was the fact that once you get past at the nickel spot, which they have kind of Jameer Latimer penciled in there now, I think. But when you get past him, I think you have Cameron Reddick, who's coming from the FCS, and you have some freshmen. And I want to see how they translate up to the next
Yeah.
level, right? Now, Powdrell can play the nickel spot, but I think they've got him penciled in as more of a back end safety. So, but from what we've seen, man, we've heard that he runs like a 4.3 40,
Yep.
and he's what was
Big.
it, 400 and some pounds he was lifting in the weight room,
Yeah,
setting records.
He's stacked.
Now, just like I need you to prove size matters, that ain't playing football, right? So I want to see him do that on the field, but man, he's got the tools.
He
He's got
does.
the tools. So I do like the safety spot. And I do think they will be able to help out a lot, even if the cornerback room struggles like I, kind of predicted they might. Like you said, the safety room can help them out there a little bit, fill in some gaps. And I do like them. I'm a little bit concerned about the depth at the nickel spot. But other than that, man, I like the group pretty well. Like I said, I went with a C plus, but I was real close to going with a B there, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. So I like it too.
A lot of Carl Joseph back there between Powdrell and Wilson in terms of the physicality,
Yeah.
the size, the physic. I think those are two guys that are going to let you know they're back there, if you know what I'm saying. And word gets out. And I think these are two players. Wilson spent some time at Florida, and so not scared of competition. I just think that this group offers a lot more than what people are going to think that they do. To your point is valid about having some of that unknown in backup roles, but it is important to notate that that is in backup roles versus some maybe another position
Yeah,
where that unknown is going to get thrown at other
right.
positions. And
That's
so,
that's fair.
um, and then, and like you said, does Latimer, who's played a lot of corner, how does he kind of slide
Yeah.
over? Sig, but I couldn't think of a better group for him to kind of learn behind. So, yeah, this is a unit that I'm really excited about, and I know we're doing position breakdowns, but just as much as I think the offensive line is really going to help the running back and even like the quarterback room, I think the safety position could answer some of those
Mhm.
questions at linebacker and at cornerback. So, yeah, excited about this
And,
group.
and what I like about Jameer Latimer is he's played a lot of corner and a lot of nickel safety. So
Yeah,
if they do have struggles at the corner spot, they can always move him out there and put Powdrell at the nickel or Cam Reddick or whoever.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean they I like the fact and Zach Alley talks about this all the time and he talked about it again today. Versatility. They love their DBs to have versatility and be able to play multiple spots. And I think most of the guys in that secondary can play corner or safety and can play, or different safety, strong safety, free safety, whatever. And I like that about that room. And he was clear. We're going to put the best 11 guys out there, and we scheme around that. So
yeah,
if one of my best players can play nickel, I'll put him at nickel. But the next game, and we saw that with last year, like we saw him moving guys around. They would change the lineup depending on the starting lineup depending on what team they were playing. Like Zach Alley's like
yeah,
a wizard to a degree when it comes to that. Like he's playing chess, with his pieces, and the players are his pieces. And
yeah.
I like to see, little shameless plug. I'm going to have a interview out next week with Dave Bartu from College Football Matrix, who's a big analytical guy, one of the big, most well-known analytical guys in the college football space. Works with a lot of programs and stuff, but he likes Zach. His data, he's strictly numbers, man. He doesn't look at scheme. All he looks at is data. Zach Alley's a number 5 defensive coordinator in the conference,
Yeah.
according to his
And
data.
and the players have changed obviously, but this is now year 2 with Zach Alley,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
the expectation has risen just a little bit that the staff pretty much as a whole is returning there, and so the expectation level should be up a little bit. And I'm excited. I think finally, even though again the players have changed a little bit, I think Zach is a lot happier with some of the pieces to his puzzle this year that he can plug and play and
Yep.
maneuver around a little bit. And so, yeah, yeah. I mean, safety's a good group. Cornerback, some question, but the secondary in general, I really like what they've done. And Couz, heck, all this talk's got me excited for some football.
Me too.
So,
I'm going to end it on this note. Today at Zach Alley's press conference, he lit up when they asked him about Jameer Latimer. He loves that kid.
yeah,
I mean, and for good reason. So I'm excited to watch him play. And by the way, he is one of those 5-year guys. He might have a chance to come back for another year.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
and I think
hopefully his brother, his brother
yes,
comes back.
I think his little brother might be I actually said at the show, I was like, wait a minute, because I was a little worried that Amari might leave when his brother leaves, right? But if his brother hangs around another year, maybe he hangs. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Well, listen, Jonathan, you got anything else you want to say before we call it quits?
No, Kuza, just the fact that hey, practice camp started today, and we're back today. What more could you ask for? So, make sure you tune in. I'm excited about the season, so
Me too.
ready to get going.
Me too. So anyway, everybody, thanks for listening. Be sure to check out again our WV Sports Chat Facebook page. We put a lot of content up over there, reels from little small short clips from my videos. Jonathan puts up a lot of content over there. Well, we put up a lot of graphics. So go follow us over there on Facebook. Also have the website WV Sports Chat where we have some written content. Follow us there, and of course, right here at Couz's Corner. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. God bless you. Q Country Roads.